What's a machinist's favorite cookie? I don't know what. Chips Ahoy. Stand by. Hey everybody, welcome back to RATTLECAN Fab Shop. I am James, and this is what I learned in school this week. Stuff in my nose. Let's see, Interpersonal Communications class. I took a listening survey to determine my listening styles, and they turned out about the way that I thought that they would. There were less high scores when discussing things such as my emotional listening style, my relational listening style, because I'm just trying to get stuff fixed. Just tell me what's wrong, tell me what's broken, let me fix it, let me formulate a plan and move on with my life. Which is not particularly handy in many situations in the life. So, like G.I. Joe says, no one's half the battle. And if I have a tendency to be short, or if I have a tendency to prejudge, I'm a little more aware of that, so I could be a little better, gooder human being. We were also talking about, we're talking about hot button issues and about listening styles and about the ways that you can respond to different, when there is a talk going on. And of course, there was a hot button issue in the United States right now that was being discussed, and that brought forth all kinds of interesting characteristics out of people. And at least, I'm an old man. I've at least gotten I kind of understand the fact that sometimes you just need to just shut up. Just shut up and listen. And that's what I've done in a lot of these instances. I did get a talking to by a young woman who made all sorts of prejudicial judgments against me just based on the fact that I was walking by on a sidewalk. And my reply to her was, "You don't know me. You don't know anything about me. I am willing to sit and listen to your diatribe, but you have to do the same to me. If you're going to sit and spout your point of view to me, you need to give me the common courtesy to listen to my point of view as a rebuttal." And she refused to do that. So, it's kind of the way it goes. Anyways, we should be quick to listen, slow to speak. And I'm still a work in progress. Anyways, math class, we're talking about properties of triangles and other polygons, including hexagons and octagons and all of the wonderful formulas that go along with that. Working on determining distance across flats on an octagon or a hexagon, distance across the points, figuring all those little angles and the minutia that just kind of goes along with it. At least it's a little easier for me to pick up, because I could look at a triangle and you can say, what is this angle? And it makes sense, as opposed to some of the algebraic garbage we've been doing. I know that the theories of those are useful, but it's hard for me to buy into the abstract. The answer is AB squared plus 7. That doesn't mean anything to me. An answer of 42.5 degrees, that means something to me. But that's just me. Anyways, in machining class, we got the bench blocks back from heat treat, and that was a fairly straightforward process, because all you're doing, if you made your part within tolerance plus what we call grind stock. If your part is supposed to be 1.44 inches, you need to leave enough meat on there so that when you have to grind off and make it flat, you have left yourself enough meat on there so that when it becomes flat, you haven't gone under spec. It's okay for the part to be fat because you can shave that off. But if it's less than what you need, can't really fix that. So now the downside of that is if you leave too much meat on there, in order to get it down and get it to spec, you may go through your hardening, because the hardening layer isn't that terribly thick. I mean, 40 thou, 60 thou thick. And if you have got to go 65, then you have ground through all of your hard part, and now that portion of whatever piece it is that you're making is no longer hard. And that's kind of self-defeating. So, but we did get it. Evaluated, and we are within spec. It is flat. It's flat on the money. We've got. We were supposed to hold it parallel to plus or minus 0.2, and my needle didn't move all the way across that. So we're happy with that. We had our 1, 2, 3 blocks evaluated as well, and those are mostly within spec. I've got one short side. My 1-inch side is like 0.99 something. But the important thing is that they are both. It's a matched set. They're both a little short, and apparently that's the bigger issue. It doesn't do you good to have one block in spec and the other one not in spec. That's the no bueno. So we did. What are we going to get a grade on that? I don't know, but we got those done, and we still had a couple of class periods left to go. So I did a little bit of experimenting, and so I'm reading. I'm reading a lot, watching a lot, listening to some podcasts, watching a lot of YouTube stuff, and seeing how people do things. Be careful what you watch on YouTube, because you can find anybody doing anything on there. So you kind of have to vet your sources. So one of the things that when you are machining, especially if you're in like a production environment, is you are trying to get the most metal removal over time that you can, because it's all about efficiency. How fast can I get this? Because you got to do the part right, but you also have to do the part efficiently. And one of the ways that you can gauge that is by the color of the chips that are coming off of it. So if you see in this one, you see I've got a lot of those silver chips. We're working on a facing maneuver. We've got a big piece of round stock, 3-inch piece of round stock in a lathe, and we're taking that flat end off of it. Now, I'm using carbide inserts, but our carbide inserts don't have chip breakers on them. They're just flat pieces of carbide, so that's why you get these big, huge stringers hanging out of there. So when they come off silver like that, I mean, that's all right. But that's an indication that you are not getting close to maximum efficiency with trying to get that off of there. You gauge that by the chip color. So you can see in this next one, I've got a chip, and it's kind of on that straw color, and it's kind of suggestively getting towards a blue color. You can see that even more here in this one. My RPM has stayed the same. My depth of cut has stayed the same. What I have changed is my feed, and the feed is how fast I am plowing into that piece of metal. When you're cutting something, you're causing friction. I mean, it's like this. When you do the Mr. Miyagi thing and your hands get warm, that's friction. And when you're cutting, basically just slicing pieces of metal off, that causes friction. What you want to do is you can't avoid the friction. You can't avoid the heat, but what you want to do is, if you have got, if you're kind of in that magic spot, and if that chip comes off silver and it turns a different color, like a straw color, or up to that kind of bluish looking color, what that means is your heat is sticking or is staying with the chip. And that's an indication that you are getting a good you're getting a good amount, a good cut off of that piece of metal, but you're not dumping a ton of heat into the actual workpiece. That heat's being carried away by the chip, and that's just something you learn by doing it. When you figure out your feeds and speeds, there's formulas for all that stuff, based on your material, what kind of process. Are you on a mill? Are you on a lathe? Are you on a drill press? Those all have different calculations as far as how fast you can spin either your piece or your tool bit, and how hard you can drive the cutting tool into the workpiece. That's all calculated out. But what they give you is a ballpark. And so the way that you figure out how hard you can push something is you get into the ballpark and you start changing things. You start running your speed a little faster or a little slower. You start driving your feed rate a little faster or a little slower. You start running your depth of cut a little deeper or a little shallower. You just experiment and you just figure it out. It's just experience. It's like life. You just have to do it. You can read all about dating girls all you want to, but until you actually encounter one, life is different at that point. Machining's the same way. So we did some experimenting on just changing color chips, and then on Open Labs. Well, first of all, there's this really cool car that was parked outside during Open Labs, and if you look real close, there's like a InstaSnap address thing on there. So if you want to follow this guy and check this car out, you might appreciate that. It's a nice guy, not as nice as me, but can't have everything. So I took that spare piece of 3-inch stock that I found in the trash and worked it on the lathe, got it to the point where I could put it in the mill, and we have a circle fixture for this project that we can put that piece into, and then I can use a dial indicator, get that located in so that it is centered, so I can set a 0 point on there. Then I'm able to scribe a line where my V-notch, correctly oriented this time, by the way, is able to go in, and then I can use maths and figure out where I need to spot drill the points for the different sized holes that go in there. Went over to the drill press, we did that, and then the fun part is getting this fixture on an angle, because the way that you drill, or the way that you work a 45-degree V-notch into this, is you place it at 45 degrees, and then you drive a 90-degree cutter like this, and you scribe your boundaries in, and you just start working it back and forth. Actually, you're going to work it this way because you're on a manual mill, and so you have to do a conventional cut. Maybe we'll talk about that one day. But there's a certain direction that you have to feed this so the thing doesn't go flying, because again, chaos and pieces of flying metal generally frowned upon in the shop. So we did that. We slowly worked that notch in there, deburred everything, put our chamfers on all of our holes, and that one's done. So that is what I did this week at school. Next week will be interesting because we are, for the third time, have Monday off, which means I miss an interpersonal communications class again. I miss a 4-hour machining lab class again. And Tuesday in math class, we're going to do our final information lecture and homework assignments, because next Thursday is the final in math class. Wednesday, we're just finishing up. Not really sure what we're going to do. I know I'm going in. I'm going to make chips because, as I've said, it's all about chip time. It's all about making chips, because that's how you learn. And then interpersonal communications goes on for a couple more weeks, I think. It's a weird way they've got it set up. A term, B term, regular term. Summer's not my fun point in taking 4 classes. So anyways, that's what's going on. Thanks for hanging in there. If you've got any comments, got any questions, put them in the comment section beneath the sermon notes. That's down there somewhere. And then, we'll see you next week. Oh, there's a box on the way. Coming out of New Jersey. That's the only hint that I'm going to give you. It made it from New Jersey to Columbus, Ohio, overnight. And now it's going to take it, let's see, today's Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. In theory, 5 more days to make it 100 and something miles from Columbus to my house. UPS, if you would just tell me where the box is, I will freaking get it and save a brother some hassle. But we'll have some fun with that in the shop. So anyways, remember, if I can do it, you can do it, because I'm just a guy. There's nothing special about me. You guys have a great weekend. Have a safe 4th of July. If you're celebrating a little too much, call a buddy. Because we like to say, live problems always better than a dead solution. Have a great weekend. Cheers. Thanks for taking the time out of your day to spend it here with me. Hope you enjoyed this video. Here's one that you might enjoy as well. If you're not already subscribed, be sure to hit that button, hit the bell next to it so that you get a notification when we drop a new video. If you've got comments, put them down beneath the sermon notes. And remember, if I can do it, you can do it. You guys have a great weekend. Cheers.